Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 2 of the course, Unit 2, Kant, a Deeper Look. Last week, we were introduced in a very quick way to Kantian decision making, ethical decision making. And the idea for this week is that we're going further into it. What does that mean, sort of more specifically? One thing I want to tell you, and this is moving forward in the course in terms of what we'll be doing, exams, whatever, is that a Kantian analysis a Kantian ethical analysis is an application of the categorical imperatives. That is, the two categorical imperatives that you were introduced to last week. The first one about universalizability, and the second one essentially about respect for persons. Those are our touchstones. Those are the center of our notion of what Kant's moral philosophy was or is. So that when we are asked to do a Kantian analysis of a ethical situation, it essentially is the application, the thoughtful, reasoned, argued application of the two categorical imperatives. But what I would like to do this week is to gain a deeper understanding of those imperatives. So the readings were chosen to do that, to show how in Kant's thought these two rules basically emerge. They're not arbitrary, is what I want to get across. They're not just sort of, he didn't just snatch them out of thin air and say you have to follow these all the time. The categorical imperatives emerge out of Kant's more general conception of what morality is. And what I'm trying to show this week with these readings is how that happens. Obviously, if you look at it, there are some very basic ideas he has that really structure his notion of what morality is. And it starts with the notion of a good will, having a good will. What we see in Kantian moral philosophy is that the intention behind an action is what gives it its moral quality. That is, whether an action is good, bad, how bad. We see in Kant has everything to do with the intention behind it, the intention with which it is done. So it is a good will, he says, which is the only thing in the world that is absolutely good in itself. Now, that needs to be qualified somewhat as we move on, but that's where we start. And then we ask what a good will is, and we get the notion of duty. And we ask duty to what, and we get this notion of the moral law, and then we get to the first version of the category. So you'll follow this in the reading. But this is the idea this week, is that we're getting a deeper look into Kant. But what does that mean? It means really a deeper understanding of the two categorical imperatives that we've been introduced to. So that's really what this week is about, and theoretically or philosophically. What else is it about? Practically, it's a reading week, you might say. There are assignments that are due. There is a set of review questions that are due on June 1st, and there are a set of review questions that are due on June 3rd, and there is a discussion board. But what you're really, I think, should be thinking about this week is using this week, not sort of bunching it all up into at the end, or just, because what you're doing is trying to gain an understanding of Kant that will enable you to do well on the first exam, which is on June 6th, after we've done this unit. On June 6th, you'll be taking an exam on Kant. It's basically a reading knowledge exam. It really tests whether you have grasped and are familiar with the fundamentals of Kant's moral philosophy as they were explored in this unit. So you should be using this week as a way of gaining a deeper understanding of Kant so that you can do well in the exam and then further in the course. So that's the basic idea of Unit 2, or what we're doing this week, is that we're trying to get a good grasp of Kant, the basics, just the basics, because it's only a few readings. So the idea is I broke up the readings into groups. This is an art. This is from teaching it in person. But every there's a reading, and then there's some videos where I talk about the reading, and then there's a second reading, and then there's some videos where I talk about that reading, and then there's a third reading, et cetera, in videos. So the videos are really there to help you read the text more profitably. They're not there as a substitute. I think you have to do both. You have to read the text and look at the videos in conjunction with that, and that's how you do well in the course. So you're looking for more than a superficial ability to, to say things about Kant's philosophy. You're looking for an understanding of really the logic of Kant's moral philosophy, how these different conceptions fit together, of goodwill, of duty, of the moral law, of the categorical imperatives, of the specifics of the two categorical imperatives. I know it's an accelerated course, so you're trying to do this all in 1 week, but I think it's quite doable. So practically speaking, aside from the 2 review questions, which have to be turned in by the due date, you have your usual discussion board assignment. And that's just, again, answering a prompt or responding to a prompt. Do you think there really are categorical imperatives? Or do you believe that all imperatives are hypothetical? Why? That's something that you'll understand by doing the readings, looking at the videos. Kant is trying to establish that there are categorical imperatives, and that not all imperatives are mere hypothetical ones. You'll see from doing the work this week what that distinction means between categorical and hypothetical imperatives, and just how important it is for Kant. Because essentially, if all imperatives are merely hypothetical, then Kant's notion of morality is simply wrong. Might as well throw it out the window. So respond to that, and you'll understand what the distinction is between the 2 sorts of imperative, and respond to that. And then, as always, post at least twice, so that you're posting your response to the prompt and you are posting a reply to at least one other student's post. So that's the idea of Unit 2, or Week 2 of the course, is trying to gain this deeper grasp of Kant, especially the categorical imperatives. I mean, some things are just terminological in the sense you need to know what a categorical imperative, what that means in general. You need to know what a hypothetical imperative is, things like that. So this should all be covered in study questions. But okay, so if you have any questions about this week, please let me know. And yeah, that's it. Sorry, can't seem to stop it. It's over.